Painting with Menoth John is presented in Super Legitivision. Super Legitivision, the future of podcasting. It's .com.
Hello, I'm
Menoth John.
and I'd like to welcome you. First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your homes. If this is your first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your
miniatures
and paint along with us each week. Let's go over to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here. Start out by believing here. You can almost paint with anything. All you have to do is practice. There are no limits.
The intro we didn't have any sound for.
Let me see here. Now we should have sound.
Yay!
Now the sound. Now the sound should be working. Do we have sound now? How sound now? Now sound. Okay, sound is on. We have sound.
Excellent. Yay!
So, God only knows how OBS and some of these programs work, that they just mess with your audio settings. And I'm going to check to make sure that when I go to my mixer input board here on the next thing that we are going to switch to. Yep, it should be fine for the rest of the show now.
Yay!
Yay! It for some reason took the default. It set the audio input to the default instead of to the mixer board.
Which means there was an update. They like to do that after updates.
Yep. So, thanks OBS.
Thanks, OBS.
Jackalope. There we go. That was by the way, I was saying you're number one. Anyway. So
You're number one.
So how you been? It's been a couple of weeks, my friend.
I'm doing okay. You know.
Good.
It is. Had a nice day off today.
Good. Well, that's good. I had some days off last week. I had been working only not on Fridays for about the last 2 months because of the Georgia startup and then being over in Europe a ton. I just never got to use my vacation. So I've been burning it every Friday. Yeah, but that's over with. I got to actually work 5 days now. The hell's up with that?
That's bullshit.
That is some serious bullshit. Some communist level nonsense. Tonight on the show, folks, we're kind of back to the old school kinds of things we used to do on Painting with Menoth John. I had a request from a friend of the show and not sponsor Tectonic Craft Studios. Arky Dan was asking me, what kind of paints do you use? And why do you use those particular paints? And I said, you know what, Dan? I could probably make a show out of that.
That sounds like good content. You don't just waste that stuff. We save that.
That is correct. And I said, you tune in on Wednesday, Dan, and we'll make sure we answer that for you. And so that's what we're doing tonight. We got a couple of different ideas we're going to do here. First off, we're going to talk a little bit about paints and why we use them, and get my perspective, you get John's perspective. And if you know anybody who can actually paint, you could ask them. And then I'm going to be using some of these new super sweet paints from Citadel, the contrast paints. You've heard about them. Unless you're living underneath a rock, that's what some other video said. Unless you've been underneath a rock, you haven't heard about these. So,
we're living in a box? Living in a cardboard box?
Hey, if you're living in a cardboard box, then maybe you need JohnCon. You know, John Con's coming, John.
It is.
Yep. And if you're living in a cardboard box, you might need food. And that's what we donate to, the Racine Food Shelter. So, folks, if you're watching there on Twitch and you have the financial wherewithal, we would appreciate to go down there and click the button that says you want to donate to the cause. If you don't have money to donate to the cause, if you want some swag, you can click on the other one, and a part of that money goes to the charity, and you also get a thing, whatever it is that you order. And that's the other button you can click on down there on the Twitch if you're twitching with us right now. So get on over there and donate if you can. First donation, I'll take off my shirt. So of $20 or more. So that worked last week, John, or last time. So if you donate $20 or more, I'll take off my shirt for the remainder of the show.
So, John, did you know that the band that played the single "Living in a Box"? Do you know what their name was?
I don't know.
Living in a Box.
By Living in a Box.
Yes.
That just seems a little masturbatory. I'm just going to put that out there.
Bit.
It's a little. I mean, it's not as masturbatory as my.
What their first album was. Do you know what their first name? What's their album? Do they have it?
Smell the Glove.
I don't know what their album was named.
What was?
Yeah, it was Living in a Box.
So Living in the Box was on Living on the Box by Living in a Box.
Correct.
Wow, swung for the fences on that
difference.
one. Swung for the fences on that one. So there you go, folks. There's your musical update.
They tripled down on that shit.
Hell yeah. So, there's a thing that we're famous for here, John.
I think it's drinking.
It is drinking. Ladies, this is a painting show. This is a drinking show with a painting problem. And we have tonight, I am going to start off by plugging Rustic Road Brewing. Here they are. This in here is something called Respice. Respice is a Berliner Weiss, which is a fruity kind of beer. It is made with raspberries. And, oh, boy, I took the lid off of it, John, and it frightened me a little.
That's a big bottle.
This is a 32-ounce crowler, and I'm going to pour me some love right now, and then I'll show everybody how beautiful this is. And I'm pouring this like I've never been in Wisconsin ever. It's making all kinds of foam and not really getting any beer in the glass. I'm going to show this on. I feel like I should have put this on the painting cam, to be honest.
In that case, we have to change the painting cam to the sexy cam.
Ooh, I know, right? All right, so here it is. As you can see, this is in a Sweetwater Brewing Company 420 Fest glass that I might have stolen from a hotel in Augusta. Anyway, so this is, but the statute of limitations, I'm sure, is over. It hits you right square in the noggin with raspberries. I'll tell you that. It's got an IBU of 10, which, the higher the number, the more bitter it is. So this is like super not bitter. It is a sour, so if you like sour beers, if you don't like sour beers, don't recommend it. But it is super fruity and super awesome. What are you having tonight, John?
I would say that's got a really good color. I have Dr. Pepper mixed with some Kraken rum.
Oh, Kraken. Oh, all right. Well, on behalf of the co-host of the most, Rustic Road Brewery of Kenosha, Wisconsin, and your podfather, hey, Ron.
Ron.
Looks pretty tasty, that one. You would be correct, Nevendar. It is very tasty. I will make sure that I have a 64-ounce growler of this at JohnCon, as a matter of fact. It's so good. Let's see. Anything else we got to talk about as far as business, John?
We don't really have much business
anymore. We don't have so much business anymore. Somebody ought to give us the business. I'm surprised nobody gives
us. They can try and give me the business, but I have a couple knives nearby.
Oh, snap. Ladies and gentlemen, some people talk about the Olympics and all the cameras that jeez, he's getting a little violent up there, folks.
Blade man.
Let me get out my seam scraper. I'll shiv you. People have talked. John, were you aware that they have many cameras at the Olympics?
I was aware of many cameras at the Olympics.
They have a lot of cameras. We don't have that many cameras, but we do have a painting cam, and your painting cam is sick, I understand.
Yeah, it kind of broke, but Razer is gonna replace it. I just boxed it up. It's all back in the original box here.
Is that a company or is that a nickname? Oh, Razer. There
Razer,
we go. I got it. Yep.
that's the company.
Yep.
They do a lot of for gamers stuff,
Mhm.
and I liked it because it's got the little light around the ring there,
Yeah.
so it gave me extra light while I was painting. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah. So but it kind of busted. They're gonna replace it. I just got to ship it back to them.
There you go. All right, but folks. So here we are, as we promised. By the way, Blue Glove of Love. Remember, paint safe. The question that was proposed to us by Archidan, and I feel like I'm turning this into a hand podcast now. So, should I be like making noises on the microphone and trying to get people turned on by my scraping?
No.
No?
I would no. How
Okay.
about no?
So the we were asked by Archident. I can't believe that this light can't be as bright. Yeah, it's as bright as it goes. Maybe I'll turn this light on too. There we go. Oh, so much light now. All right, so we were asked to talk a little bit about the paints that we use and why we use them. So I'll do one, and then the next question, and then you can do one. And we'll go back and forth. Side Hustle Seth is in the house, folks. Holy cow, that is amazing. Seth, how you been, my friend? Here's to you. Hey, Ron, the man that taught me how to two-brush blend. And that'll change your life right there. No, it is not on the yardstick boom anymore. I have it duct taped to a desk lamp. It just works better.
I can't argue. I've done this. I've done similar things. I used to have it hanging off my desk lamp for a paint cam.
Yeah. By the way, you'll notice, folks, for you, those of you playing at home, we do have a tiny sliver of crotch cam tonight. But nothing. Don't get too crazy.
Just a sliver scratch, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a tip. All right. So, I mean, primarily when we talk about paints that I like, I think the conversation starts with P3. And P3, I've been back when I got into painting and got into miniature games actually to start off with. Privateer Press was the first miniatures game I ever played, and honestly the only miniatures game I've ever done any level of painting with. And the nice thing about P3 paints is that they use a liquid pigment, so they blend really, really well. They stay liquid and they stay good forever. I went on a dry streak, John, of about a year and a half of not really painting hardly anything at all. And as I've gotten back into these paints, there's not a single one of the P3s that has gone belly up. And I think that's pretty darn impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So
they also have a reasonably solid cap. I mean, obviously, we'd love for everyone to go to, dropper bottles.
Yeah.
But that cap's still a little better than some of the old GW ones.
And if you're using a wet palette, it's not the end of the world, because you lift it up, you take a little bit off the lid, you put it down in your wet palette, and you're good to go. And you just seal it right back up. So dropper bottles, though, to your point, John, would be super amazing.
Yeah, I mean,
I love them.
Yeah,
it
is what it is, right?
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's probably the only complaint I really have about the paints. John, is there a particular paint that you like that's not P3?
I actually use a lot of Citadel paints because, well, you say the first name was P3. Really, the first name was Citadel because
for me, it was the first name.
So many people started with because back in the day, GW was the thing, and I can talk about other paints. And I may, if we have some time, talk about older paints that I don't use anymore that I used to. But Citadel is a start. I mean, especially now they have so many colors. They have the best washes, pretty much hands down.
I would agree with that statement 110%.
Yeah, there are other companies that have some good washes, but I don't think any other company I've seen has both the breadth of washes and the quality in them.
Yep, I would agree completely. To build on that, John, and I'm going to show off a couple of these, I want to talk a little bit about some of their specialty lines of paints, too. They're technical paints, which I think deserve a discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. We could go on. I mean, we should probably go through all of them. I mean, the technical paints are good. You did a whole video back in the day using the rust paint.
Yeah, and that's actually the one I just pulled out here, is that combination of the typhus corrosion and the rise of rust is just a really strong weathering combination if you're looking for that metal. When I'm one of the projects I'm still working on, I got both bears done finally, but the hooch hauler is going to be, the trolls don't take good care of their equipment.
No, God.
So, I mean, all of the metals that I'm going to do on that hooch hauler are going to be distressed in one way, shape, or another. So and the typhus corrosion, which I need to make sure it's like still a thing, that it's still sloshing around in there.
Their bottles are kind of hit or miss. This generation of bottles been pretty good. The generation immediately prior, kind of hit or miss. I had to throw a bunch away after my little hiatus, but it is what it is.
Yep. So I mean, the gemstone paints are money. I really, really, really like how you paint down a very bright silver. You put the gemstone on top of it, and by gosh, it's not going to be what you get from, let's say, doing it by hand. Especially on larger gems, it doesn't work terribly well. But on small gems, it's money.
Absolutely, and their metallics have always been super solid.
Yep.
I wouldn't say they're definitely not the best, but they've always been very consistent. Only a handful give anything less than solid, consistent quality, and those are the two brasses, like Rune Lord brass, and then they have another one that's sort of a reddish brass. Both those are a little rough nowadays. They need a lot of shaking. They can separate a lot, but those are outliers, not the norm. All the rest of their metallics have been pretty solid through their lifetime.
Yep. Which brings me to a good point. I mean, I do like P3's metallics. I really do, especially the black labels.
Yeah, the ones prior to the black labels, because the labels are
garbage
reversed from the normal paints. When they aren't reversed, those are older, and you're rolling those dice. Some of those are not great.
Yeah, they're not real good.
Solved the problem, and they fixed it.
Yep. But I would like to mention the Vallejo Game Color polished gold. I'm a big fan of.
We can talk about Vallejo Game Color because that is a legit line of paints.
It really is a legit line of paints. I mean, I've got a few of them that I think I'm a huge fan of the squid pink. I use that one. All of my trolls have pink on them, and they're all the squid pink. I think it's just a really great pink. It's very bright. It's very vibrant. I think that's something you can say about their line of colors in general, is they tend to be quite pigmented.
Yeah, and so the Game Color is actually based off of the original GW paint line, the previous one that lasted a very long time. When they discontinued it, or before they discontinued it, they said, we're going to compete, we're going to supplement our Game Color paints, which are very good, honestly. There's a ton of good paints in there. You can probably find a color for it if it's, needed in a historical or whatever. They've got a color for it.
Yep.
But the Game Color was to match the sort of GW line. That's why their names are like, Squid Pink is Tentacle Pink.
I see what they did there.
Yeah, Bloody Red is, I think that's actually their Blood Red from GW. So they did a lot of that, which is also why GW went to names they could copyright.
Got it.
They did that just so they can make sure. Nevin, I want to know if you finished those pink boom howlers.
The pink boom haulers are done and have been done. I'll have to bring them back out to show everybody. Yeah. Their boom hauler himself is the only one that I believe is pink skinned. But the rest of them definitely have pink in them. My trolls are 100% painted except for the hooch hauler. My minions are what you see in front of you right now are the last of the unpainted minions, and that's going to start right now. So that's 21 models, which are a Swamp Shambler group, and then I have one model for Protectorate that has to be painted. That's Sevi Zero, and he's 3/4 done. I knocked I knocked my paintbrush over earlier this week, and 2/3 of them got done.
It happens.
Yeah, and then I have to put a base on my one of my Retribution Colossals that I can never remember the stupid
Helios.
Helios, thank you. Why can I never remember that, John?
I don't know. You're much closer to playing the game than I am, but I just remember the name because.
Dear God, I almost played the game last Friday. Do you know that?
Oh shit!
Almost happened.
We talked about the game last Friday. The guys were they miss Drop Zone games I'm wearing the shirt for.
Very nice.
And they missed that environment. They necessarily miss just the game. They missed Smart 2. They had the most fun there. So I mean, we're reminiscing a little bit. But they're playing 40K now. They're having a good time still.
If the local Keyforge Tuesday night doesn't pull its head out of its ass, I'm going to start making the drive for War Machine on Tuesday.
It's tough. Right now, I got a sixth client at work, so I have a lot of work to do, and I've been staying a lot of late days.
Yep. Well, hey,
But it's all good.
there's a new kid on the block.
Oh, we're not even talking about the old kids, but let's hit the new kid.
Oh, do you want to talk more about the old kids?
I mean, we talked a little bit about Vallejo. You can't say enough nice things. You should be looking at them also. But I mean, Reaper, Kathy Wapple, who's one of my co-hosts on More Than Dice, loves Reaper paints for various things. And we'll be talking about her a little bit later when we talk about using the paints. But Reaper has a great line, and they set it up sort of like GW has now. We're like, oh, I've got the shade, you've got the base, the shade, and the highlight.
Yeah.
Reaper sets it up like that. Like, here's your 4 or 5 paint block. Boom. You can look on their thing. Boom. 5 paints that are all meant to be used as one group.
Okay.
From base all the way up to shade and highlight, or down to shade up to highlight.
Cool.
And they have a ton of paints. They have a wide variety, and they've been doing it for years too. I mean, I remember painting with those paints. God, pre-2000. No, right around 2000.
So
that's 20 years almost.
I'm going to talk about the contrast paints right now because I want to get painting.
Okay.
And then we can come back and talk about our uses and those kinds of things too.
Well, yeah, I got a couple more. I got one more paint line to talk, or 2 more paint lines to talk about when we get back to stuff.
Sure.
But let's talk about contrast so you can start painting.
Yep, so I can get painted on these guys. So the contrast paints are essentially watered down, or they're thin versions of other paints. Okay,
Yeah.
They're meant to be put on a light colored primer, and so the things that I've seen have been either primer white or primer some type of a light gray. Go ahead, John.
But they actually use them on metallics too, and some of those high-level guys are getting good use of them on metallics, which makes me the most interested for some good colored metallics. You can do some shit.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
'Cause
So
that's on my list.
So the idea here that I want to do for everybody out there for the brush heads is I'm going to work on speed painting these undead fish dudes. And the idea being is that I have another unit of them that I painted using more traditional, where I used my P3 paints. I don't remember if I airbrushed them with my Badger airbrush paints to base coat them, but I did a fair amount of work afterwards on detail painting. And what I want to do, and now this is my first attempt at this, and they say you just take it right out of the old pot and you just go to town on it and you just apply it. You don't want it to pool up. You just want it to kind of just get all over. And we're going to try to just try to get this on here and see what it looks like, because it's supposed to do a pre-shading for you. And it's like a wash, almost. So that's what we're going to do here tonight, is we're going to be painting the fish using the undead fish. And then what we'll be able to do here, probably in a subsequent episode, is I will compare and contrast these particular undead fish with other undead fish that I have used other techniques for.
Yeah, and it's good to note that the contrast paints are meant inherently to be for speed painting. They say one thick coat. That was their joke. Like, don't come back and do anything else, just one thick coat.
Yep.
The only real problem I see, and I should probably tell John before he gets too far, is that it is really, really fucking hard to go back and touch them up if you make a mistake with the next color in line. So you need to be super duper controlled with your paint afterwards, or you need to paint opposite. Well, not necessarily opposite, but you need to paint the details first and then go back and hit it with the contrast paint and clean up the contrast paint on your details rather than the other way around.
Got it. Well, we're committed.
You're good. You're good enough that I think you won't have a problem with that. You got good brush control, unlike someone like me.
I do
Waco
okay
kid,
these
we're
days.
like, oh, rock hard, yeah, but this is my paint in hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, Blazing Saddles.
Yes, that is one of my favorite Mel Brooks movies. We had that discussion at work.
So tell me about the other paints that you were mentioning, John.
All right, well, I got some Scale 75 paints.
Oh, I've heard good things.
I got their metallics and a white. I haven't used the white a lot because, honestly, Vallejo white is the bomb diggity, but they are in dropper bottles, so I'm willing to give it a shot here in the future. It feels a little more fluid than Vallejo white. Vallejo white's very solid, if you will, very viscous.
Okay.
Could be watered down, but really good. It covers very well. I love Vallejo white, but I want to try this for stuff when because you don't want to mix water down white too much because it starts getting a little squicky.
Okay.
It's the word of the day, it's squicky. But the metallics, dude, they're sweet.
I had to get some of those metallics. Where did you come by them?
I bought them online.
Okay.
We were talking about them, and one of the guys had a cool Death Watch paint scheme where he mixes black with their black metal to get a sort of even darker metallic black color to put on the majority of Death Watch, so you don't need to highlight black, because fuck highlighting black. I'm gonna be honest.
How much blacker could it be? No more black.
Yeah. So I got that, and I've tried them. I love the black metal. It's a great dark metallic color. Every one I've used has been really good. I sort of got like a whole big swath of their blacks, and I don't recall them being a bad price or a pretty solid price, and just got a whole bunch of them to send them up, and not regretted it in the slightest.
So this does go very, very fast.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta find, if you had a good source online, I wouldn't mind having you pass it along, because nobody local carries them.
I think I bought directly from them.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm a big, if you don't have it, like if Jay doesn't have it at Discount Games or something, I'm gonna go to the source.
Yeah, makes sense.
If I find some other place that I like, I would go there, because the guys at the source are making their money more or less anyways. They make a little more if you buy them directly, so always think about that.
Yep.
It's like getting Secret Weapon bases. If I can't find them at the local game store, I just buy them from Secret Weapon.
Yep.
And give them their money straight up. So.
Yeah, the base I'm going to be using for the Hooch Hauler is actually a Secret Weapons base.
I use them on all of my Malifaux models, and that is quite a few models, because every single damn one of them recently is on it. Like, someone old like him, I did not put on a molded base. He's got a regular base, but he's big enough and chunky enough I could just probably pop him off the base. I might actually have to cut it off. But none of my of these guys are. And honestly, since you don't need to save the bases, because I have so many bases nowadays, you could literally cut it off and then grind it and shave it, and it'd be all good and get a cool base for him. But that's future stuff. I don't want to fuck with models that I can't even find the rest of right now.
I hear you.
You like the rest, Barbaros here is on a base, and I have it done by faction, sort of. So all of my outcasts are on this sort of standard cobblestone base. Yep. And then all of my 10 Thunders are on this sort of round cobblestone base.
And I remember from the Brushhead Gallery, your bases were looking really sweet.
Yeah, they're cool. And then all my Resurrectionists, the undead guys, which is not very many because they're sort of a side faction, are on this sort of pumpkin-y base.
Sweet. Oh, the pumpkin bases are awesome.
Yeah, they're very cool. I need to find one for one of the guys I got sitting over here partially assembled. But
I remember Adam Vogel from the Buffalo area. He lives now out in the Seattle area. And he did those cricks where he actually sculpted all those pumpkins. Man, that's impressive, but holy cow.
Yeah, I'll take pre-molded. I do like them. They paint them pretty well. I have one model painted with it on there. If you guys ever go back and look at old Brushhead galleries, it'll be on there. I've got a purple Void Wretch painted on that as a test model. As far as I got with those, but it was proof of what you can do. Proof of concept's important, and knowing where you can put paints is important. But that's neither here nor there. But anyways, yeah, contrast going on pretty well. It looks like.
Yeah. How am I doing as far as keeping it in frame?
Oh, you're doing well. You're doing very well.
Cool.
And then the last paint I want to talk about, which is the last one I really look at, and there are other paints. I mean, we can talk about Apple Barrel and whatever else, but we'll talk about those and the paints you should avoid. But the last one is Turbo Dork.
Yes, and you've mentioned that one.
Indeed. Turbo Dork does metallics and then color shift paints. So it's really hard on video in most cases without a lot of light. So I'm going to try and get some more light up here for you guys. Might make my camera go fuzzy. But just to sort of show, I used on his helmet and his shoulder pads and his shield, I used the color shift.
Okay.
You can see it shifting. It should shift from sort of a blue to sort of a reddish pink.
It is hard to pick up, buddy.
Yeah, I know it's hard to pick up. It's all right. But it looks good. It's a very weird to paint. There you talk about priming it black and then doing lots of small coats. I've done a lot of different things. I've actually done a bluish base and then paint it on there, and you need less coats. So there's a lot of stuff. Grease and Pearl, they're sort of like that in Evandar, sort of like the chameleon paints, but there's a wide variety of colors. You just have to really want to paint them because they're going to be a pain in the butt.
Cool.
But they're cool. They definitely, if I was ever going to buy one of those paint shakers, because I didn't feel like making my arm hate me forever, it would be for those paints. Most of the rest of the paints you talk about are very well, mixed. They don't need a lot of shaking, maybe a little bit here or there. A couple GW paints might need a little bit. But these really need it, and they do come with a ball bearing or something inside them already to help it.
Oh, wow.
But they really have a big problem with everything, separating and resting on the bottom. So keep that in mind. You want to shake it up. You need to shake it up a lot. In fact, after you use a bit of it, I like to have an old shitty brush and I push it down there to start mixing it up too. They're one that I think would actually, this sounds terrible, have been better to been in a standard sort of GW bottle rather than a dropper bottle.
Makes sense.
Because the way it mixes up, you could more easily get a toothpick in there and start mixing it up yourself.
Got it.
But I very much like them. They have a cool effect. They have a fair amount of metallics, all sort of weirder colors like, pink and stuff like that. You go on their website, they show you based off a back of a spoon for some cool effects. But the color shift is really where it's at. But you want large flat areas. Like, looks great on Space Marines. Looks terrible on anything with a lot of angles and details. Because it just breaks up the color shift so much so often.
Got it.
Like, I would probably use it on shields or something. But it did, help me with my here's my... 1 Age of Sigmar guy. I love the shield, the bluish with the silver. It looks so good. It makes me want to paint a deeper blue metallic with that for those guys if I ever get around to them. So that's sort of all the paints that I think are out there and sort of going. There's a bunch of other ones. Other people have talked about making paints. I know at one point.
I know that Tusk in Madison is a huge fan of Cote d'Arms.
So Cote d'Arms is actually who made the original GW paints way back in the day.
Okay.
Like when I started. I have one of those paints. It's still good. Think about that for a second.
Yep.
You measure that time frame in decades, sir.
Yep.
And we're talking almost 3 decades. Still good.
Yeah, that's and they use the same kind of P3 bottle, and
Yep.
I think that they use liquid pigments as well.
I do not know. I never really did a look. Let me see if I can find the one paint. You're in the metallic. I got my paints behind me.
Okay.
You guys can see me looking through paint. I just don't know where I put it because it's not like I have a lot of those. There's one somewhere. It might be in a box somewhere. Right here. Ruby red.
Oh.
Broken here, but
I had some of those bottles.
Yep.
Those were amazing paints. There was a green one that
Still
yep.
Still juicy.
There was a very, oh god, I don't know how to describe it. It was kind of like putrid green. In fact, I've transferred it over to a bottle, a dropper bottle.
I bet it was actually called Putrid Green too.
It was.
They used a lot of old GW ones, yeah.
That was putrid green. That is actually a Citadel color.
Yeah. Because they did them originally, then they sort of GW. No one knows at that point internet wasn't wide enough use of whether GW and them amicably left or GW was like, we're going to get rid of you guys because we're going to make our own paints, or who knows. But Cote d'Arms is still making paints. You can get them. They're going to last. They're solid. I haven't used them in long enough. I always recalled many of them being very watery, though.
Okay. Which is maybe why they've lasted so darn well.
Yes. So it might be a little harder with certain ways of painting. And a lot of us like stuff that covers. I remember the snakebite leather being like the wateriest damn brown I ever used in my life. And like the Besto brown never really covered well. Which is actually why I started using other paints, such as the old school Armory paint. Armory is well long dead and gone. It's still around in spirit, being Alliance Games distribution. But I worked there when they were still making their own paints. I won't tell you how they made their paints for legal reasons,
Yep.
to protect the innocent and the guilty. But their paints were really weird because they were very much more viscous and a lot. But they had like a ton of colors, a ton of weird stuff. They had satin paints. They had like a wide variety, and they were pretty reasonably priced. A lot of my second or third wave of models painted were with those paints, and they had a lot of colors that did sort of not quite the full contrast thing, but there were several colors that sort of did that sort of thing when you put a little water in them. They'd give you a different, they'd go deep in the recesses and then lighter on it and give you a cool look with not a lot of effort, which, back in the day was what we were looking for.
Especially when you're doing GW, games that have so many models and things like that.
And it wasn't quite that bad back in the day. I mean, we're talking just after Rogue Trader, so we're talking second edition.
Okay.
So you're literally talking, you'd play, we were playing 1,500 points. A Squad of Space Marines is 300 back then, so you're really not getting that many models if you're playing Guard.
Yep.
And you really want one guy with lightning claws to murder his way through all of them. And I mean all of them. But, so there were some interesting paints back then. We tried literally everything would come into the shop when it came in. And never really... we ended up sticking with GW, Citadel paints at that point because they were the best quality, and the price difference wasn't good enough to make us choose Armory paints overwards. We choose it once in a while for the color selection or like the cool satin finish or the glow in the dark paint, because yes, Armory had a glow in the dark paint, but not really too much for other stuff. Occasionally people will buy something like Apple Barrel, which is sort of like your discount craft store acrylic paint. It's not good, but boy is it cheap.
Yeah, it sure is.
And some of us even started with Testors paints.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Never on miniatures have I used Testors. I mean, I've used Testors, but that was for, like, battleships and whatnot.
Hardcore gloss enamel.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't fuck up those paints.
Nope.
No.
No. Not going to work.
We even painted some stuff with the Testors paint markers. We painted whole models with that.
Wow.
They were awesome in all the wrong ways.
In the term of using it, as you would be full of awe at what was in front of you.
Yep. I remember my first two looted Lehman Russes one was all black so it was stealthy, and the second one was all red so it could be faster.
So it could be faster.
Let's go faster.
That's right.
Yeah, that was way back in the day. We didn't know what we were fucking doing.
Okay. So that's 6 models. Now,
yeah, that's pretty good.
That's it's I don't even know what time it is here. What time is it?
It's for you 7:35.
Yes. So, we're cooking right along here. I don't think I'm getting all 20, but we're going to make progress. And then we're going to be able to come back, and I'm hoping that I can my goal would be to bust out a color a night. If I can bust out just like I'm going to come back and I'm going to do all the browns, or I'm going to come back and do all this or that, then I can probably have done for next week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, next week, folks, I have just found out today that I'm going to be on a trip, so there will be no Painting with Menoth John next week.
So you're going to try to keep it to Transformers night.
What's that?
You're keeping it to Transformers CCG night then?
Yes.
That's all right. No worries. I got some games in, and then Bowie and Banian are downstairs playing right now.
Cool.
So there's a lot of paints out there. I mean, I always like to try one from every new paint brand I can get my hands on, just because you want to see how it flows.
Right. This is
if
like
you kind of like it, you try another one. Maybe they got a color you like. Maybe they got something that makes it work better for you.
That's the whole point behind what I'm doing here tonight with these guys, is that I wanted to try it out. I have a series of models that, I care about them and all that kind of stuff, but I don't care that much about them because... Go ahead.
It's a bunch of models, and if you really cared and you fucked up, I'm pretty sure Coas can provide you with another box. They're sitting unassembled over there.
Yep. There you go. I cannot fathom doing this again.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
However they turn out is how they're turning out. And they'll be good enough, because there's literally only a single list I would ever want to run double shamblers in. And, guys, I don't play the game that frequently anymore. And when I get the chance to play me some minions, that means there's a Dracodile on the table.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why you built that list. You want to play Dracodile? Do it. Do it.
That's right. So then it's a matter of, do I want to play a Dracodile with Witchcaster? So, I know, John, you're not into the War Machines near as much anymore. I was seeing one of my locals, Matt Wonky, was saying that he had 6 of these clockatrices.
Hey.
I don't even understand. One of my other locals kind of explained to me what they were, and they sound just broken.
They're hot bullshit. There was so many clockatrices at the WTC, it was stupid.
Are we just not doing testing anymore?
So they are doing testing, and they made it all the way through CID like that, so keep that in mind. But it shows one of the potential downfalls, and I don't think it happens so much, but you can sabotage CID by basically misrepresenting. If you're like, oh no, they're fine, I had a battle report, they didn't do that much, and this and that, and just trying to get something to end up be good for your faction so you can place. I mean, it's a competitive game. At least one person in the world has done that shit.
Yeah.
And it's why you can't just rely on it. I mean, I like to point at the zero casters, which is pretty much when I said, I think I'm not going to pay much attention anymore, because I saw the CID stats for them, and I was like, how does this bullshit make it through pre-alpha testing? How does this make it to print? It was egregious. And I mean that in the entire use of the word egregious.
I mean, Sevi 1 being essentially a solo with Eye of Menoth on a stick.
Just egregious.
It doesn't seem okay.
It's not. And so the thing is, though, is it a problem for War Machine and Hearts? I mean, for Rest, is it? I mean, you get people excited. People bought a ton of Glockatrices. Is that a problem?
Only in the fact that when they nerf it, it's going to cause backlash.
But is it really? These guys are already in. They know what they're doing. They've already seen the Rager and the Berserker and all that. They know what's coming.
Remember the Grolar?
Oh yeah. I mean, let's be honest. So is it actually a problem?
No.
Or is it a marketing tool?
Yeah.
Let it come out. Let it be super powerful. Then, when we decide we got something else, let's nerf the fuck out of it and get a new thing out.
You know what model? There is one model, John, that I think I need to get. And I'm going to do a good job painting it. It's the, what do they call it? The Primal Archon.
Okay, yeah, I like that model. As we saw at the game store, I'm like, that's pretty cool. So was the Morrowind Archon. I'm like, those are both pretty cool models. I don't know if you get me playing the game again. It's nothing to do with the models, more to do with the
I get it.
Other things like the Clockatrice. I mean, when you have a game that's predicated on being competitive, as soon as you let something through that's not fair,
I mean,
you make a problem to play the game.
6 Clockatrices means the entire board is -2 speed.
Pretty much. I mean, that's not even the biggest thing. I mean, think about how long, and we'll go to the end of Mark II. They finally nerfed, Haley 2 and Gatsby and all that. The old guard finally got nerfed down. You still have something like Harvey, who is really out of control. Does not have enough downsides to go with the upsides. And then you get someone like, I still like the rail on Haley 3. In addition to being just fucking the most Mary Sue who ever Mary sued. Like, the story was terrible. In addition to the story being terrible, she's not balanced. Like, I see her come out and I'm like, how is that okay? You mean, that's not okay. How is that supposed to be okay? And then I realized just maybe what they're aiming for is just not the game for me anymore. So, it's okay. Big boy, move along. I just feel like their marketing is now to actually keep stuff unbalanced to start. Not so much that it's an auto win by any stretch. Like, I don't see them ever letting a caster come out and be overpowering. But to let stuff be unbalanced, let it go in there, let the meta adjust, and then they'll shake it up by nerfing that thing because it's too good.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way. If you know that's what it is. If they would state that as a design potential, would be fine. But we know it, so it's okay. We will, like, I'm sure all the competitive players know it, and they'll be fine. Because on the other end, these guys are competitive. They love the tightness of the game. They're not going anywhere. There is no other miniatures game that's that tight. None of the other miniature games care that much. I mean, I hate to say it that bluntly. Malifaux might be the only other one that's close to that, and it's not the kind of game it does that. It's a little too swingy.
Got it. Because of the card system, you think?
Yeah, because you can get a bad hand, and then your opponent flip just higher enough on every.
Oh, I think John just froze up.
And there are ways to prevent it and stop it and make it unlikely, because it's really unlikely. But once it's just all terrible.
I think I might be having a little bit of trouble with the internet on my end. You froze a couple of times there, buddy. It's not enough that we're going to worry about it, but it did happen.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see it on my end now.
It could be that we had the negativity filter kicked in a little bit, and we're being a little bit too critical. But yeah. I don't know about all that. You're just stating the facts the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be negative. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not angry at the game. It's well past that. It's fine. It's just that I don't think other games are into that. So the guys who like the competitive play are going to continue to play it. So as long as they understand that's what's going to happen, it's going to be fine.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I miss about War Machine is I miss, Matt, and I miss Randy, and I miss the gang. They all moved away from me, kind of. They moved to the north, to more of the north side. But I think maybe what I might consider doing is splitting my time between the card game and the miniatures game a little bit. Maybe one week I go to the card game. Next week I go play in the miniatures game.
Yeah, that's what Bowie does. This week he's here playing Transformers TCG. Mm-hmm. Next week he'll be up playing War Machine.
There you go.
I'm trying to get more time to play other stuff, but I'm getting a good mix of stuff in, so it's all good. And honestly, there's enough skirmish level stuff that everyone's going to love that's coming out that it'll be all good. It's like I say, you can move on from a game. It's okay.
Yeah.
You have a lot of money invested, but I got my money's worth out of all those models, not individually, but the amount of fun I had, the great people I've met, the great community we had.
Indeed.
It was worth every fucking dollar I put into it.
Yep, I'm with you there, buddy. And I look back, and especially across my collection, I can look at all those models, and there were some good times in my life, and there were some less good times in my life, and they represent that, and I can go back and I can think about where I was and where I am now and how things have gotten better, and reflect on that, and it's still a happy thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's all good, Yeah. I got no worries about it at all at this point. Like, I'm actually at the point where if I ever need space, I'm just going to give him to L. Marshall. He's still nominally into the game. He's got a ton of storage space at his new place. Holy crap, dude, you should see it at his new place.
Nice.
But I'm like, I don't need to keep him here if I don't play. And like, Banny and I aren't going to play. If we're going to play, we're going to play Legion or Armada or Malifaux or Transformers TCG more often than not. Or X-Wing. We're going to play something much lower level that we don't need as much for. That's because we're just not into it. We're not into that game, so we move on. That's how it is. Yep. 40K, we've got 40K, we've got all the games. Jesus, we just go from focus us towards something.
So speaking of other games, the new version of Gaslands came out. So gonna give that a try again. The book looks like it's significantly better written this time. The rules are much more clear. And they have good examples and things like that. So I think that'll be kind of fun. Picked up a board game miniatures game called Conan. Because I got it because it was half price. For God's sakes, it's normally like $100 and some odd board game. I got it for $60.
I'll be honest. I look at any game that's on discount. I give it a good look. See, I'm like, hey, what's this game about? Because we like playing games.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to break something. I have a Robotech Kickstarter I backed. And when Necromiles came down to the area, we just hung. I picked him up at the local, metro station. We drove up to the store, hung out for a bit. We played a couple games. We played a game of one of the Robotech games I got off that Kickstarter. Had a great time. Had some lunch, rolled around. It was great. You just buy little games like that.
Yep. So, I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to go into another miniatures game quite as balls deep as I did with this one. But this is, this is really, I can see myself. I miss the game enough, I guess, and I miss the people I played with enough that I'm willing to make the trip up to the north side.
Well, that's what it is, right? You got to feel like, is it worth it? Like if some of my buddies are like, oh, hey, we're playing, something I want to play down at the game in Annapolis, which is a hefty drive for me now. I mean, I moved pretty much 10, 15 minutes due east from fucking everything.
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, except the Games Workshop store. The Games Workshop store is literally right around the corner. But, if the guys want to play something, I'm always willing to take a drive. Just got to get the time after work. It's the toughest thing. It's why after this year, the hobby streak might go away.
Yeah.
Just so I'm not feeling like I have to. If, my boss wants to go see Alien in a theater in Silver Spring, Maryland, which is a hefty drive from work. So it's 30 minutes further away from home.
Yep.
So that becomes inconvenient. Do I want to drive, freaking an hour to go see a movie on a Sunday and rush back for a podcast, or want to try and see it after work and then rush home and try and get something done for Hobby Streak? So I'm not going to say I'm not going to stop hobbying, but it might not become an everyday thing.
Well, and that was the cancer that eventually took Private Painting with Men off John the first time. Was the obligation portion of it became kind of a lot.
Yeah.
And I just wanted it to be a little bit more casual, like how we're running the show now. This is a lot easier to kind of manage my life around.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't do anything on Wednesdays anyway. Shit.
Yeah. So there you go. It was a Speak of the Devil time about Matt Wonky, by the way. He was we were talking about the clockatrices and the clockatripocalypse and all that kind of stuff, and he happened to message me on Messenger, and he was showing off a really beautiful Bam Fist from Riot Quest.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job on it, and I said, "Tune into the show," and he goes, "What? I thought you killed it," and I was like, "Yeah, we're back.
Yeah,
we're back."
It hasn't gotten around yet. It'll get around. It's all good. We just I said this to somebody on Twitter. Someone had called her out like, "Oh, look, you've been on Twitter for so many years and you only have so many followers with so many tweets."
What?
And I'm like, we don't do this for fucking followers or anything. We do this because we want to do it. And if it brings one person joy, I have done my goddamn job.
Absolutely, man. You think about the number of people that have reached out to us over the years and saying, I was in a tough spot and things weren't awesome.
But how many fundraisers those fuckers raised? Huh?
Yeah, right, exactly.
How much money have they made for people who needed it so they can have a good end of their life, or people who need it for, research into children's diseases, or people who just need fucking food?
Yep, and that's what it's all
You've
about,
done
folks.
great things.
Yeah, we have.
Proud.
Yeah.
I'm proud for this ride with you, John.
Aw, Ron, damn it.
So,
well,
that's all good. That's what we do.
I couldn't have done it without you, pal. You've been a hell of a co-host, and I'm glad that we're back in the saddle again for as often as we put the saddle on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, sporadically is good.
Oh, I think it's great.
We don't need to burn ourselves out. Like I said, if I put a bullet in the hobby streak, which since you missed earlier, I just got done with day 667.
That's a hell of a streak, buddy. There's no shame in that game.
Some of the warmongers do hobby 300, where they hobby for 300 out of 365 days of the year, and I'm like, that's much more doable. You got a couple days you can take off, but not enough that you're like, I'm just going to take a week off. You don't do that shit.
No.
Something to keep you focused. We'll see. That's why I expanded after the first year to count playing games and all that in. When I wasn't counting playing games, I was like, it was a job sometimes.
Nobody wants a hobby to be a job unless you're painting professionally. Then you probably still don't want to have the hobby be a job.
It gets a little rough then, but it's all good.
Yep,
so there you go.
I've done 6, 10. This is number 11. And we are closing in on that time of the show when we get over to the media section. We got another 5-10 minutes here. We're going to keep on going.
Yeah, you're making great progress. They're pretty solid.
Yeah, so let me take...
The way it covers and the depth it gives is really good for just a basic thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And, I mean, so here's the first one that I did. I'll hold it up here to the camera. Maybe it can focus, maybe it can't.
We'll see.
But
Schrodinger's focus.
it looks good.
Hmm?
Looks real good. And
and they're not even like the perfect models. Now, if you guys want to know what the perfect models for this is, anything with fur, mwah, that is its sweet spot. A model like this has got lots of nooks and crannies. It's good on, but fur, it's where it's at.
there
That
you have
sounds
it,
creepy.
folks. The official paint of Fur Fest.
That's why it was creepy. Thank you.
No problem. I'm there for you. I'm there for you.
But yeah, so they're looking good. Well, I do like the paints. I actually tried using them on some of my X-Wing ships, but since they're possible to clean up, it became problematic at best.
Got it.
Now I feel like the TIE fighters, I have someone else painted that I got in a deal off of eBay, and I actually feel like the TIE fighters, you could literally just paint them gray, paint the black parts black, because a little bit of contrast paints over black ain't going to do much, and then just hit them with contrast to get that shading on the rest of them. So that's definitely a possibility that I might look into when I start painting some other TIE fighters.
Sounds good, man. You still playing the X-Wings?
I don't really play X-Wing.
Armadas.
Armada, yeah, when I can. We just bought the new campaign set that I know we're going to try and get together. It's just hard to get enough people together, and some of the guys just haven't grokked it yet.
Got it.
So, but, last time we played, it was L. Marshall and Not Brushhead Dave versus myself and Bowie.
Mm-hmm.
We had pretty much a whole campaign, and pretty much the name of the game was we had one game with Marshall versus me, and Marshall won that. Otherwise, Marshall and I won all the games.
Oh, you guys have played for a long, long time, and
yeah, we're a little more experienced. We have a little more variety of games under our belt, and we understand it better. Like, Not Brushhead Dave was trying out some other stuff, and he eventually said, like, I don't really like my fleet. I'm like, I see it's not working the way you want it to work. Just funny, because the way he wants to play, I feel like he should be playing Rebels, but he's not going to not play Imperials unless they make Ewok spaceships, and that doesn't exist. So,
teddy bear spaceships. They're so fuzzy.
Yeah, though they will have Clone Wars coming next year.
Oh, that's fun.
2020 is going to be a year of a lot of Legion stuff, and it's going to include probably a new starter set, or Legion Armada stuff, new starter set with Clone Wars.
Very, very cool.
4 factions will get them where they need to be.
That's the rule that the D6G always had.
I think 3 factions is enough. 2 is weird, but understandable if you have, a licensed property where there's not really a 3rd faction.
Right.
But I feel like X-Wing really started to get interesting when they added Scum in.
Agreed.
And then now they have, they have 4 more factions on top of that. They're at 7.
I have not played. I gave all my X-Wing stuff to Rich Brotman to clear space. And I don't know if he uses it at all either, but that don't matter.
Do you still have your high command?
I do. Do you want it?
No. Do you remember where we left it?
Yeah, it's underneath my bar. You know where it still is?
Underneath the bar?
Underneath the bar.
Well, I'm curious, because there's a story to all this. I'm curious what you said and when you noticed it.
Okay, so I probably didn't notice it until like 6 months later. Because what happened was that it was behind all the extra beer.
What?
It was
How did it get there?
Uh-huh. And I was like, how the fuck did that get there? And then I was like, and now every time I go back there, I look back at it and go, there's fucking high command underneath there. And then I walk in the other direction. And so it's still there. Because I think I'm afraid to touch it, that it'll stick to me and hurt my soul.
Well, it was one of the prizes, and you were out of the room, and we're just like, we should hide this somewhere. And we came upon, I forget who mentioned it, we're like, hide under the bar, put some stuff underneath it. Like, you went down close to that before we left. We're like, oh, shit. But you didn't notice. We're like, woof.
Well, that's because I blank it out. I mean, it's like a traumatic thing. It's like you could walk in front of me and it would be invisible.
It's like the silence.
Exactly.
When you don't have your eyes on it, you forget about it.
And I keep on waking up with Sharpie marks all over my body. And I was like, it's the number of times I've seen High Command but not moved it.
Old school Doctor Who jokes.
There you go. Let's see, what else?
I had to ask that since you brought it up because I just remember doing that, and I'm like, he didn't say anything about it, so I guess it wasn't traumatic as we thought.
Oh, no, it's traumatic.
Traumatic.
It's traumatic. But I'm excited for the Conan board game. It Sit Up and Shut Down, which is a board game reviewing site. Really liked it. It looks simple. It looks fast and looks violent.
That is exactly what you need in a game.
Yep.
Simple, fast, and violent. You need some of that. You can't get too
Nope, you can't. You can't get too complicated.
That's sort of the thing I have with games. We're
breaking up a little
do
bit.
we want to? Oh, sorry.
Nope, I broke up. You broke up there for a second, but you're back. They did a version of using the same system in the Batman universe, and it was a Kickstarter, and they complicated things, and they basically, the review site said, you could just play Conan.
That would be the kind of thing like, what is this?
And that's exactly what I did. And that's when I found it on Amazon for half price. And I was like, okay, well, I'd like to support my local game store, but right now I don't really have one. And
half price is a thing.
And half price is a thing. So that's what I did. And
120-ish down to 60 is a thing.
Yep. So that's what I did. And I'm excited about it. I think I can get Jacob to play it with us, which would be super fun, because then each of them can take 2 heroes, and we can have some good times. There's a couple magic users. There's a couple of fighty guys, including Conan, of course, and I think it'll be good times. Should we get on over to the media section while I continue doing this?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go
also, a quick question. Gunmage says, did we cry War Cry? It's been taking off here, and people who haven't tried minis games before. I'm like, so I haven't really tried War Cry because it was chaos focused inherently, and I didn't want to have to buy new models to play in a game. Like Kill Team, I jumped in and could play with the models I already owned, so that was awesome.
Yep.
And I know there's rules for that, but I don't think it's gonna really grab us. Some guys have been playing it, but I'm also a little hesitant on some of these GW secondary games anymore because they get a little wonky at points.
Interesting.
Or Matt Wonky.
Interesting thing about GW. There's a local game store called Twin Dragon Games. They're here in Racine, and they're very new. They've tended to be like Yu-Gi-Oh and the Pokemons and card game kind of things. But they're now starting a how to play 40K thing.
Oh.
And I've got them Necrons, and I'm thinking that I might have to go down there and have somebody teach me how to actually fucking play 40K.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 40K is a good time. It's not balanced.
No.
But they try. They're doing the try. I love how all the companies now are sort of taking a page from, I really want to say, like the Privateer Press Weird Games, the first ones who really did it, and balancing their shit. They're like, after the fact, like, that's too powerful, we need to change some stuff, so here's an FAQ with some changes.
Yep. So, I mean, that I might give that a shot. Anyhow, so on to the media section. Let's go, John.
Let's go. Well, it may surprise you guys here that I watched Furious 7, which is the 7th movie in the Fast and the Furious series.
Jesus Christ.
Please note, I still haven't watched 3, and I don't think I'm going to because it's not necessary for the story.
3 is Tokyo Drift, right?
Correct.
Got it.
So, now, this movie is a little bit of a fall from the heights of Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6, where they're firing on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. Car puns are all intended in this.
Indeed.
So this one, the idea is that Jason Statham is playing the brother of the bad guy they took down last time.
Is this Jason Statham's first Fast and Furious movie?
Yes.
Okay.
So he shows up, and he's an absolute badass, and he fights The Rock and ends up...
attacking a shark. No.
He ends up putting The Rock in the hospital. But he gets an idea. He tells Dom not to go after him. Officially don't go after him, but as a brother, go kill his fucking ass. So Dom and the team goes to go find. They go to Han's funeral because Han died in Fast and Furious 3 in Tokyo Drift, and they relate that saying that basically Jason Statham killed him. They sort of retcon that to make it interesting.
Okay.
So they go to Han's funeral. He also blew up their house and all at the same time. They go to Han's funeral, and of course Vin Diesel sees him there and chases him. And they're about to go to a fight where a bunch of CAA Spec Ops guys show up.
Interesting.
They take Dom back, and Mr. Nobody, played by Kurt Russell,
Aha.
who's the head CAA guy, basically goes, "We need you and your crew to help us get this thing called the God's Eye, which is a MacGuffin that lets you find anyone on the planet that accesses all cameras and microphones and everything."
That's a MacGuffin, all right.
Yeah, so that you can find him and we can help you take him down. If you help us, we help you. So they get his team, they go together, and in one of his only funny moments in recent movies, Tyrese playing, kind of forget his character's name because he's so unfunny most of the time. But Tyrese playing this character, Roman, gets to make the plan, and it's like this funny scene where he's like, I'm not making anyone else make plans for me. I'm making a plan. So I was like, all right, Roman, make the plan. He's like, we'd get him here. And the guy, the number 2 is like, that's the least accessible port of the mountain. He's like, no, making a plan. And there's some funny moments there. He gets that funny one. The rest of his moments are painful.
Hard to watch.
Literally painful. Like, there are certain people who will find them funny. I am not that person. But there's a lot of, the family undertone is hard at work in this. Every time they say family, you should probably drink.
And then consult a doctor or see the hospital.
Yeah, you'll be unconscious. It'll be okay. You'll be totally fine. Make sure you hydrate, too. But,
Painting with enough John Health
such one was like, I ain't got friends. I got family.
Bum, bum, bum.
But there's some good moments there, even though, unfortunately, Paul Walker passed during this movie. They got his brother to help finish, his brothers, and some CGI to help finish out the movie. And really, he's on point playing, Brian, where he's got a son now with Dom's sister, and he's trying to balance that. And he tells her that he misses the guns, misses being shot at, basically. He misses the excitement. But they do that. They find the hacker that's going to lead them to the God's Eye in a wonderful combination car and fight scene where Paul Walker gets to fight Tony Jaa because that's totally a fair fight. Still great stunts that are completely off the chain. Like, reality is well gone. Physics is out the door, and this movie and physics just hate fucking anyone else just to get back at the other. Just totally. But god damn it, it's a great ride.
Cool.
It really is. And eventually they end up in Abu Dhabi, and they jump a car from the Burj Khalifa to the next tower and to the next tower, and it's fucking awesome. Is it stupid? Yeah, it's pretty stupid. But man, it's just a fun ride. They just don't give a fuck. They don't nod and wink at the camera. They're not like, wasn't that crazy? They just do it and treat it like this is the shit that happens in this movie. Deal with it.
Because that's how physics works in this world.
And it's great because there's no like, oh my god, how did that happen? Like, they don't have any of those call outs. They just take it out and keep going. Eventually they get to the God's Eye and they go find them, and then the whole team's supposed to go take down Jason Statham's character. But Dom goes like with him instead, like, we can't have everyone else in there. They're not killers, and we need to kill them. But of course, Paul Walker's character Brian's there to help him out, and they go to get him, and he's waiting for him. And he made a deal with the bad guy who was after the hacker Ramsey, who's a breath of fresh air to have her in there. Another girl in there who's very amusing and competent. She's been rescued because she's not a fighter, but she's not incompetent by any stretch.
Right. It's not a damsel. It's not a damsel in distress.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. If you take Michelle Rodriguez from the first movie and this movie, you would not believe it's the same actress necessarily, because she has gotten so much better. She's conveying emotion. She's acting. It's great. She's not just scowling. And so it's great to see that progression through the movies. But it ends up that so Jason Statham has has gotten the bad guys to help him, and they get the God's Eye, and they take out most of the CIA guys except Mr. Nobody. But of course, Brian and Dom get off with Mr. Nobody, and then they're like, "We gotta protect
The family.
the family." Exactly. So they're gonna go to the only city where they have home turf, which is L.A.
Okay.
So go back to LA, and they have Ramses, the hacker, figures out like if you keep me close enough, I can hack God's Eye and basically disable it.
Okay.
So they have this whole idea where they're going to play keep away in cars with her versus the bad guys.
Keep away in cars.
So it's actually really fun, absolutely crazy scenes where they're like passing her from car to car, while in motion, of course.
Of course.
While the bad guys are flying around in a stealth helicopter. They do say stealth, so you're like, why isn't the army come and destroyed them? Because stealth. That's how stealth works.
That's how stealth works. Yeah,
and they have a giant drone that comes out and goes after them, and they're dodging a drone in cars. And I'm not going to ruin everything, but crazy stuff happens. Of course, Vin Diesel gets his showdown with Jason Statham, and it's pretty amusing. You almost see a sort of respect between those two happen, and it's just a fun ride. It's not nearly as good as the one before it from a overall standpoint, but it's one of those, it becomes that popcorn movie that you want. It doesn't have, the great sort of plot and fun necessarily, but it has some great moments, has some fun moments, and it's just a good time. I'm going to give it one shot of Kraken. It's a little backslide from the zeros for the last two, but still a good time, still worth watching, and honestly, someone snuck into my house and was cutting onions where they were saying goodbye to Paul Walker in a respectful manner. And, 7 movies with a guy or 6 movies with a guy, you feel bad.
Yep.
Especially taking young in such a tragedy.
Yeah, it was a damn shame.
So there you go. One more Fast and the Furious movie to get me caught up, not counting 3, of course, because I started off with the Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw when we started.
Yep.
I've gone through almost all the movies, so next time expect to hear about Fate of the Furious, which is the 8th movie.
There you go.
Spoiler, it goes more batshit crazy. I've, of course, seen it.
Outstanding. So, folks, I really didn't watch any movies this week, but I need to talk about a television show. And so, John, have I mentioned on the show about a show called Mountain Monsters?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I don't understand how channels like this exist, but there's something called like Destination America or something like that. So it's one of these things. It's one of these like reality show type channels where it's the genre of television that like Dangerous Crabs or whatever, the Dangerous Catch or whatever spawned gold hunting, crap like that on the Discovery Channel. And the premise of Mountain Monsters are that there's the Ames team. The Ames team are these 6 or 7 Americans. By the way, I have now base coded all 20 dead fish in the course of a single episode of Painting with Menoth John. I think that, if nothing else, is an advertisement for these contrast paints, and they don't look bad. I mean, I got a lot of work to do on them, but the flesh is done. And anyway, so Mountain Monsters, and there's Trapper. He's the lead of the show, and then there's Wild Bill, and oh god, Sassy Greyjoy loves Mountain Monsters. Sassy, you are gonna love. You and Chuck need to talk at John Con, and they go fun. There's Wild Bill. He's their expert tracker or some shit. They got Willie, who builds traps. And then they've got Huckleberry, who's security. I'm not sure what security actually does. Is the podcast back? I need to check my subs to make sure I can listen to this again. The podcast is not back. You got this, and you got it on the YouTubes, and that's it.
Yeah.
So this is welcome to the no editing version of Painting with Menoth John. So anyways, and then there's Jeff, who is their researcher, and what they do is they go out looking for crypto creatures. Okay, so like on one episode they're looking for the some kind of the Tennessee mountain cat or some stuff, and it all takes place in Western Virginia or something like West Virginia, and they hunt out, and they don't catch anything. These guys couldn't catch a cold, and but they have like 6 teeth amongst them, and they're hunting these crypto creatures. So because that was such a rip-roaring success, and we can talk about where the storyline has gone over the years. It was such a rip-roaring success that they decided they needed another show called Alaska Monsters. Alaska Monsters is 6 guys from Alaska. And you can go 1 for 1 that they have slotted people into the exact roles that Mountain Monsters have. Same producer. Same producer had so much creativity, just made another show just like it. And
But it's in Alaska.
But it's in Alaska, and so they got Alaskan cryptids. And on this show, they have Little Bear. He's their leader. He's got a hat on that has a taxidermied, what appears to be a rabbit, maybe, with bright, bugged-out yellow eyes. We call him Little Timmy. And they go around. They have Face, who is an old, grizzled guy with a white beard. They have Krusty, the researcher, but when they put it up on the screen, they don't put the researcher. They put down Krusty Researcher. It's like, for God's sakes.
Wow.
Then they have
values.
where Alaska Monster gets it wrong, where that Mountain Monsters doesn't get it wrong, is that they decided their thing was they're going to have one guy on who's like this typical nerd who is going to put electronics on all the things. So he's got a drone, or he's got laser beams that he's using, or motion sensors, or stuff like that. And you just want to punch the guy the whole time he's on the screen. It's hard to watch. But so, of course, I subscribe to it on Amazon. Because
it's a train wreck, right?
Oh, it's a steaming pile of poo. So it's entirely possible that Mountain Monsters might be the thing we watch towards the end of Saturday.
Oh.
So that could be fun. Anyhow, but I really haven't had a lot of time for media, to be honest. I've been going down to Chicago for the roastery that's opening up down there. So life has kind of gotten in the way of watching a whole lot of movies. But yeah, there you go. Any other?
I'm looking for the brush heads there to let me know what movie series, action movie series, I want to do next, so I can start planning for that. Preferably multiple episodes. Hopefully that eventually goes downhill, so I have something to take care of. You know, something like Lethal Weapon or Die Hard or whatever. Let me know what you guys want to see me talk about. Transformers. I actually own the entire Transformers again with Bumblebee, which I haven't seen yet, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Actually, I would like to get your perspective on the Transformers movies. So,
I've now seen them all because Officer Rob, who kept trying to get me to see the last night, I'm like, look, I'm only going to watch the last night if you hand it to me on DVD. He one-upped me. He two-upped me. He handed it to me on Blu-ray in a set with the other Transformers movies. So I have all of them on Blu-ray because he gave them to me.
Sassy Greyjoy suggests Starship Troopers, which
that jumps off a cliff immediately. That's interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
that's actually an interesting one too, because once you start getting into like the animated series and the made for video movies, they go.
I would do the made for video movies. I probably wouldn't do the animated series. I don't think that's continuity, but I would definitely do the made for video movies. You know, Hero of the, what is it called? Not Hero of the Empire, Hero of the whatever.
Yeah.
Republic or whatever.
Yeah, there's some the animated series one is rough. But anyhow, yeah, there's some ideas there. So, but I think Mountain Monsters has a fair chance at being at John Con. We'll have to find one that's particularly egregious.
You're backing up. You're backpedaling from Robo Vampire.
There's more than one day of John Con.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There's
That's
always
true.
more. There's always more John Con. I think that's a rule, isn't it?
Yes.
So, anyway, folks, get your ass over to the John Con website and donate until it hurts, and then donate a little bit more. If you've enjoyed this evening's show, help us keep it coming, because some of the motivation for us keeping on doing this is to help fuel the charity. So get on over there and donate and all that kind of stuff, and we would sure appreciate that. So anyway, great progress tonight, guys. I think getting 20 guys turned green, while certainly slower than airbrushing them. I think that you make really good progress with them in a short amount of time. Now, I do need to come back and there's more work to be done. There's a lot of highlighting and low lighting, not low lighting so much, but there's a lot of detail on these models that I definitely want to take a look at. So we'll see how it works out. But good progress for one night. And remember, folks, there will be no Painting with Menoth John next week. So hopefully we'll be back the week after that. But we'll see how things go, folks. We'll try to give you more of a warning than 4 minutes before the show starts next time. Now the thing about the audio, John, is that if I kick the music on, we're gonna start getting echoes from our voices. So instead of kicking the music on while we're still talking, I am going to go ahead and put us over to the end of the show thing. Let the people listen.
Wait, an actual outro?
I know. We're going to do like a real outro. And so on behalf of the co-host with the most, Mr. John Spencer, I am, of course, Menoth John. And we will see you the next time that this show is on. See you later, folks. Bye.
See y'all.